10 crime scene photos from history's most notorious serial killers. Gary Ridgway. Washington County deputy sheriffs and explorer scouts comb a wooded area for victims of Gary Ridgway, also known as the Green River Killer, on June 20, 1985. Between 1982 and 1986, Ridgway murdered likely 71 women, but was convicted of 49. He claims his kill count is closer to 90. He was finally caught when none other than Ted Bundy provided vital serial killer expertise to authorities. Ed Gein. A shot from the inside of serial killer Ed Gein's house where he once lived with his mother. Gein's particularly bizarre background and crimes have been the basis for some of the most classic horror movies. Inside this home, inspectors found window curtains held back by a pair of lips, utensils made of human skulls, a wastebasket fashioned out of human skin, and a literal skin suit he was in the process of making. A chair taken from the home of Ed Gein. The base is upholstered in human skin. Andrew Cunanan. The steps of Johnny Versace's Miami home in the wake of his assassination by serial killer Andrew Cunanan. Before shooting the fashion mogul at point-blank range, Cunanan went on a brief but bloody cross-country killing spree that included a friend, an ex-lover, and 2 innocents. He shot himself shortly before being caught. Jeffrey Dahmer. A police photo from the home of Jeffrey Dahmer, showing a freezer full of human heads. For over a decade, Dahmer lured young men to his home where he drugged, raped, and dismembered them. Many of them he then dissolved in a vat of acid he kept in his apartment. He also severed parts of his victims to eat or freeze. A 57-gallon drum of acid found in Dahmer's room which the killer used to disintegrate his victims. Richard Ramirez. A blood-stained wall is all that's left behind in a scene from one of Richard Ramirez's crimes. Dubbed the Night Stalker, Ramirez terrorized Los Angeles in the 1980s, claiming the lives of 13 people. Jack the Ripper. The body of Elizabeth Stride lies in a British mortuary, the only victim that Jack the Ripper didn't mutilate. In 1888, a mysterious murderer stalked the streets of Whitechapel and murdered 5 women, nearly all of whom he then eviscerated. He was never caught. Leonard Lake. An aerial view of serial killer Leonard Lake's compound, where he lured women and their families to be murdered on camera. Between 1983 and 1985, Lake and his accomplice Charles Ng kidnapped, tortured, raped, and murdered between 8 and 25 people, including an infant. Authorities were never sure just how many victims the 2 men had between them because the only remains they found were ashes in the woods by their property. The Manson family. Pictured is the living room of 10050 Cielo Drive the morning after 3 Manson family members broke in and murdered Hollywood starlet Sharon Tate, 3 of her friends, and the teenaged friend of the groundskeeper. Tate was 8.5 months pregnant at the time. The Manson family murders spanned the summer of 1969 and also claimed the lives of business owners Leno and Rosemary LaBianca in gruesome fashion. Body bags line the sidewalk outside of 10050 Cielo Drive. Albert Fish. Police unearthed the remains of one of Albert Fish's victims. Also known as the Brooklyn Vampire, Fish raped, murdered, and cannibalized over 100 children. He even sent a letter to the mother of one of his victims, 10-year-old Grace Budd, bragging about how good she tasted.